Hello, MavMind Collective, and welcome to another episode of the Hypno Sales Show. Today, we're talking about how to interview a sales rep, part 5. All right, if you've seen some of my previous parts, 1 through 4, I'm sharing the questions that I always ask sales reps when I'm interviewing a sales rep to work for my company or work for me or work for my team. And I'm explaining each of the different questions and what they mean from the MavMind method perspective, the subconscious selling perspective. I'm trying to understand with these questions how the sales rep candidate thinks, what makes them tick, how their minds work, what preferences they have. Are they towards or away? Are they direct or indirect communicator? Are they external, internal modes? And also I want to know what's going to keep them happy, what's going to make them excited about working in the new job that I'm hiring them for. And I want to make sure that I retain them. I don't want them to go to some other company, especially if they're a rock star sales rep. I don't want them to leave. So I got to make sure I understand what makes them tick, what makes them happy, so I can coach them and I can manage them to their efficiency and to their performance and get high performance out of them, so they will make a lot of money and they'll make the company a lot of money, because that's why we're working with them and that's why we want to hire them if they can do that, right? So I want to keep those sales reps working here, and I want them saying, this is the best job I've ever had, and you're the best boss I've ever worked for, and this is the best team. You want them really getting into all of that stuff and loving their job and loving working at your company representing your product. So that's what these questions are about. And this is one of my favorite ones. This is part 5, and it's right here on the board and on the podcast. I'm going to read it out here. It says, if orange is the answer, what is the question? If orange is the answer, what is the question? In other words, if I ask you a question, what question am I going to ask you to where you say orange as the answer? So it's like Jeopardy question. It's like the game show Jeopardy, where you give you the answer and then you got to tell me what question they're asking. Now, the reason I do this is because I want them to do a transderivational search in their mind and their subconscious. I want them to figure out creatively what question they would come up with to get someone to say orange. This is very indicative to how they're going to be when they're working with customers or prospects. In a sales situation, because they're going to have to guide and persuade the customer or prospect. And if you want to try to get them to do something, to take action, motivate them, you've got to phrase things a certain way. So this gives me, whatever question they come up with gives me a good indicator of how they're going to get the customer to take action and move to the next step and get to the next advance, as they say, and they advance the next meeting, and eventually to close the opportunity. Okay, so there's like 2 different types of answers, 2 or 3, that I'm going to describe to you, so you can listen for them, and then it'll indicate to you how they may or may not be in their position working for your team. Okay, the first way that they might answer is something very common and easy to kind of figure out, but it's based on the relationship they have with prospects and customers, or relationships they have with you. And they'll say, what is your favorite fruit? What is your favorite fruit? Or what is your favorite color? So they'll say something like that to where it's about you. They're saying, what's your favorite fruit or color? What's your favorite breakfast drink? What's your favorite juice? Breakfast juice. They'll do something like that to where it's about you, and it's easy for you to insert the word and answer orange. Orange is the answer, okay? That is usually indicating that they want to work with you and they like that relationship building between you and them, and they let you kind of have a say in the guidance of where you and them go together. How do we go together as a team towards this end goal of you purchasing my product? That's how they're thinking about it. Sometimes they might say, what is my favorite fruit? Or what is my favorite color? Valid answer as far as a question to get you to say orange, but they say mine versus yours. That indicates they're a little bit more internal frame. They tend to go into themselves to figure out what to do. They're like more cerebral. They think it through a little bit more. They don't talk as much. They think it through, and then when they do talk, it's very deliberate, and they know exactly where they're going and what they want to do. So that's an indicator if it's your favorite fruit versus if it's my favorite fruit. So you want to listen for that subtlety, so you can kind of pick up on that frame, external or internal frame that they have, and how they look at the relationship. Another type of answer that I get quite often, probably the other third or 30%, 40%, is they will pause for a long time and not answer the question. Like they'll be paused for a long time. They'll be thinking, and they won't be able to think of anything. And then if you're in front of them live, if they're sitting in front of you, they'll look around the room that you're in and they'll spot something orange colored in the room. And as soon as they see it, they'll say, "What's the color of that? What's the color of that?" And that's the answer. What's the color of that? And they're pointing, and they're relying on you to look at what they're pointing at. So then you can look at it and go, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's orange." And that's how they're going to get you to say the word orange. Now, the weird thing about this, I have to admit, is that when I've asked this question over the phone, where I can't see them, I'm just strictly talking to them, believe it or not, they will forget that we're on the phone. They will pause for a long time and they'll still say, "What is the color of that?" And they'll say that, "What is the color of that?" Because they're pointing at something in their home office or wherever they are. They're pointing at something orange, but they forget that I'm on the phone and I can't see what they're pointing at. But their instinct is to say, "What's the color of that?" And then I have to ask, "What are you pointing at right now?" And then they realize, "Oh yeah, you can't see it. Yeah, I'm pointing at my basketball." Or, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm pointing at a pumpkin right now." And they have to tell me what it is they're pointing at. But I think it's really strange that because of the way their brains work, it's very common to get that answer, "What is the color of that?" So when you do get that answer, if you ask this question, ask them, "What are you pointing at?" They'll tell you, and I guarantee 100% it will be something orange, because that's how they're answering the question. So typically that indicates that they're more of an action taker. They typically, in their mind, they were trying to think of an answer and they weren't satisfied with any of the answers, but they knew they had to answer my question, so they had to get out of that mode of internal and external and take an action. So they pointed at something quickly and said, "What's the color of that?" in order to just get it off their plate and get the ball back into my court. So that's why they do that. And the reps that I've hired and others that I've helped hire, by asking this question, typically they're the action takers. They're the ones that are they're doing campaigns, they're canvassing a lot of different accounts. They're always got activity and they're always trying to figure out ways to penetrate and get into accounts. And they're usually the best at it if that's the answer they give. So that's what that answer indicates, is they're going to be more action takers versus more cerebral, thinking about it, planning, wondering, should I do this, before they take action. They just jump right in the water, and even if they're going to drown, they jump in and they learn to dog paddle, and they just try to learn to swim and keep their head above water. That's the type of sales rep answers like that. Now the third way is very rare for sales reps. But I have heard it a lot from technical, more like sales engineers and other types of reps that are a little bit more analytical, a little more technical. They can get into the technical weeds and they're comfortable. They typically will answer the question by providing a puzzle for me to figure out. They'll give me a question that I have to deduce what they mean, which is the color orange or the word orange based on what they said. So they might say something like, "What do you get when you mix red and yellow together?" Okay, or "What is the name of a TV show that says blank is the new black?" What's that? What do you fill in that blank with for that TV show? So in other words, I have to figure out a TV show. There's a phrase. The name of it is blank is the new black. I got to go back. So I got to remember. Oh yeah, orange. And I fill in orange. So I have to do some work. Red and yellow. Oh yeah, what does red and yellow make? Oh yeah, it makes orange. Like I have to do something in my mind. I have to put it together. And whenever they give me a question like that makes me, it's like a puzzle I have to figure out. What that's indicating is that they're very creative. It's a very creative sales rep. Very analytical sales rep. Someone that is going to really get into the numbers and try to figure out ways to solve a problem. They're usually really good at solving problems, and they love solving really hard problems, okay? And at any time an SE has become a sales rep, typically they're going to come up with a very creative answer that's not straightforward like that. It's a little bit, you have to figure it out. So just be aware of that when you hear that. It's not a bad thing for them to do it. Just understand that they're going to expect you to give them some creative opportunities to create some new new processes maybe, give them some tasks that you wouldn't give to other reps, let them figure it out. They're probably also differences people versus sameness people, so they want a new, fresh idea to work with, or a topic or a task to work on that they didn't work on before, so they don't get bored. So that's what that typically will indicate. And then the final answer I'm going to give you is very rare, but it's very common among CEOs. So when I've asked this question of CEOs of companies, they pretty much all give me the same answer. And I want you to think about it as I tell you what this is, what this means, okay? All these CEOs I've asked, they always give this answer. They say, what is the color of an orange? What is the color of an orange? I don't know how perfect of an answer you can get than that, right? There's no doubt that the answer is orange, because I'm using the word orange in the question that I'm asking you. So I think that's very interesting that almost all the CEOs that I've asked this question, they've all said, what is the color of an orange? Because in their mind, they don't want you to have to guess at it. They don't want it to be about the relationship where it's your favorite fruit or my favorite fruit. They just want you to answer the question exactly, and they don't want you to get it wrong. They want to be crystal clear about what they mean and what they're saying and what they're asking of you. And if you think about it, most CEOs, that's their demeanor. That's exactly why they're a CEO. So I think that's a very interesting because I've asked that question, that's the same answer I get from any CEO. So if you answered that, who knows, maybe you'll be CEO of a company one day. Thank you for watching. I know you find value in these videos, didn't you? So if you, like me, are in a customer-facing role, I'm wondering if you want to watch another video now designed to help you get better at what you do every day. Or not. You don't have to watch another video if you don't want to.